Man, what a difference a year makes. A year ago, I was making videos for 100 or so subscribers, and now I'm a YouTube partner. For those of you who aren't Cardinals fans, this is a little tradition I've started where I talk about the current state of the Arizona Cardinals. If that's not for you, I get it. This probably isn't the video for you, so I'll catch you in the next one. I have some pretty cool ones coming down the pike, so stay tuned. For everyone else, please enjoy. Last year's State of the Nest address was very doom and gloom. The Cardinals were the Vegas odds to be the worst team in the league, and my season preview matched that energy. A lot of bad press came out that offseason, including a ton of PR nightmares. The organization had just failed the Players Association report card. Our new head coach was doing this.
How you doing? Good. Good.
And our franchise quarterback was set to miss half the season recovering from a torn ACL. But immediately one person stood out as a bright spot in the organization. The new GM, Monti Ossenfort. His draft day trade that netted the Cardinals an additional first-round pick was a breath of fresh air, because for the first time in a long time, there seemed to be an actual plan in place to rebuild for the future. Instead of Steve Keim's patch-fix signings and Cliff Kingsbury's gadget guys that never panned out. So as the 2023 season started, a Cardinal fan like myself could see the foundation being laid for a long-term, multi-season rebuild that the team desperately needed. We knew the Cardinals weren't going to win a lot of games, but as long as we saw development and progress, no matter how slight, it would lead to a successful season, no matter how ass-backwards that sounds. I have full faith in what Monti is doing as GM. With every move he makes, you can see the long-term plans coming together, and that is more encouraging than anything of the last 5 seasons. So for the next few seasons, the motto is, "In Monti We Trust." The Cardinals' problem in 2023 wasn't coaching or culture. It was simply a lack of talent.
But there's a problem. You're not any good.
One thing that was very positive that I didn't see coming was the guys rallying around first-year head coach Jonathan Gannon. He may be a goofy motherfucker, but he definitely changed the culture in the locker room. What the Cardinals lacked in talent, they made up for in heart. Last year's team fought in every single game, especially in the early season when they were starting Josh Dobbs. And they even stole a game against the Cowboys for Gannon's first win as a head coach. And funny enough, cost them a first-round bye in the playoffs later that year.
Did I do that?
This is just another example of the team slowly turning the ship around, and the team's leadership seems to be in great hands. Whether I like it or not, Kyler Murray is the guy for the Arizona Cardinals. I think there are still a few questions for him to answer, but the number one thing I think all Cardinal fans want to see from Kyler this season is consistency. We got to see flashes from Kyler Murray at the end of last season that were brilliant. The scramble against the Falcons in his first game back was peak Kyler. But then there were games where he was a complete dud and just stat padded at the end of the game. If he can consistently be that player we've seen flashes of and stay on the field, which has been an issue in the past few seasons, he could finally justify the huge money he's making. Because as of right now, it would take 2 consecutive 11-6 seasons just to get his overall record as a starting quarterback back to 500. Kyler's attitude has always been questioned since his rookie year, and in my opinion, last year was noticeably better. Whether that was a new perspective after a major injury or no expectations in a lost season, I hope he continues to be accountable and a leader on this young team, because it's the only way they will be successful long term. One key area for Monti to shore up is the defense. And in the first few days of free agency, he did exactly that. It doesn't matter how good Kyler plays next year. If the defense ranks 31st in points allowed again, they aren't consistently going to win games. Monti has brought in some solid pieces to fill major gaps at reasonable prices. While other defensive players like Christian Wilkins and Robert Hunt are getting $100 million contracts, the Cardinals are signing players like Sean Murphy-Bunting at cornerback, Belial Nichols and Justin Jones at D-tackle, and most underrated, Mac Wilson at linebacker. These players all fill huge needs, but don't break the bank because, again, the Cardinals are still in the midst of a rebuild. As good as Christian Wilkins and Robert Hunt are, they alone will not make this unit a top 10 defense. So dropping that kind of money in the Cardinals situation would be a handcuffing move and stunt this rebuild. But I think the most important detail about all of these defensive signings for the Cardinals is that they all signed 3-year deals. Why do I think that's important? Because the Cardinals' window is 1 to 2 seasons away. You see the Rams starting to deal with the consequences of giving away the farm for that Super Bowl in 2021. Next on the chopping block is the Niners. They are about 1 to 2 seasons away from having to deal with all of the trades and salary cap hell that awaits them for their past decisions, as they went all in for a Super Bowl. That is when it'll be the Cardinals' time to strike and compete for a division crown, and hopefully make a playoff run. And all of those guys I just mentioned will be right in the middle of their team-friendly contracts. It's the long game with Monti, and I fucking love it. This brings me to a tough question I've been asking myself for a while now. One person who might not fit in that window is Budda Baker. Now don't get me wrong, I love Budda. He is the heart and soul of that defense and the team as a whole. But his shelf life might expire before the Cardinals are ready to compete for the playoffs. And that begs the question, if you could get a substantial haul at the trade deadline for Budda, do you? These are the tough decisions Monti is going to face in the next year or so. This is just kind of a thought experiment, but let me know down in the comments what you would do if you were Monti. Is Budda off limits? What is the least amount you would take for him? Let me know. I would say Budda's stock is down after a meh 2023. But if the Cardinals could get a second or third for him, that might be worth picking up the phone when teams call about him next season. And just hope you hit something in the draft. Speaking of the draft, no team has more draft picks in this year's coming draft than the Arizona Cardinals, with their first pick coming in the 4 spot. But I can't help but think, was that win in Philly worth it? And again, don't get me wrong, I love nothing more than beating a Philly team in Philly, but I think I would have liked the number 2 overall pick more. The Cardinals could have traded that second pick for a king's ransom, in a draft where the first 4 picks could all be quarterbacks. Teams would have shelled out big time for that 2 spot, but now...
Asking around 1,500, I've seen comparable models go that range.
I'll give you $300 for it.
I think I'll keep it at that price.
But at 4, the Cardinals have been very closely linked to Marvin Harrison Jr., and to me, he seems like he could be the reincarnation of Larry Fitzgerald. And after losing Hollywood Brown and Rondell Moore, it seems even more likely that Marvin Harrison Jr. would join the standout receiving threats Trey McBride, who is an absolute stud, and Michael Wilson if he can stay healthy. It would also set Kyler Murray up for success so we could finally truly know what he's capable of. I mean, I'm also not opposed from trading down from the 4 spot to pick up a position of need like offensive line or cornerback, but I'm sorry, the thought of the second coming of Larry has completely taken over my ability to think logically about the Cardinals, or how to even end this video, so I will revert to the theme of this video. In Monti We Trust. Hey, you made it to the end of this video. Proud of you. What are your thoughts on the Cardinals' upcoming season? Are you bought into the process? Let me know down below in the comments, and subscribe if you haven't already. Thanks, and playa!